Things that we started about a month into my tenure here as superintendent is looking at the criminal networks and taking those cases federally, where there are more significant consequences in the court system, that there's really strong cases we've made to this point. We'll be bringing those forward across the finish line to get sentencing, but those cases have to be made through an investigation. There's not an instant in court. And of course, as you know, COVID has delayed many of the grand jury convening, and some of the prosecution of some of these cases have been delayed March, April, May, but full force now since June. We've been really working well with the federal court system. Grand juries have been convening, and we've been pushing the ball forward as it relates to bringing criminal network gang violence forward in the criminal justice system.
So is that some of the strategy that's being prioritized when it comes to these cases involving children being shot?
Well, not necessarily just children being shot. I think the answer to your initial question was, how do you reduce the violence? What are we doing to reduce? The consequences of committing a violent crime is one component to reducing violence. Not only for those perpetrators, but it just sends a message to others who might commit violence that this will be you as well, that this 15-year sentence, this 20-year sentence in the federal system is a preventative measure as well as it is a consequential one for those who are convicted and brought to justice. So it's both preventative and it's a real consequence, much more than you can get otherwise.
Superintendent, your anti-violence plan, the mayor said it seemed like you have a good plan in place, and yet 51 people shot, 10 people killed. What needs to be changed with the plan?
One of the things I really like to do when I get a question, this is a pretty predictable question. So if you think about what the plans are or have been and what the results of the plan and what they have been, after the George Floyd videotape was revealed of his murder, all across the country, not just in Chicago, violent crime spiked. It spiked throughout May, June, and July. We reorganized our department during this spiking of violent crime to create two citywide teams, the community safety team and the critical incident response team, as you recall. That's been in place. This is the 7th week that's been in place. To address specifically your question, what are we doing? Is the plan working? Should we change the plan? Since then, murders have declined over 50% since the plan has been in place. And shootings has declined over 18% since the plan had been in place. And so even though you compare this weekend to whatever you want to describe as a high violent crime, it's lower than previous weekends. And it's lower than last year's Labor Day weekend as well. And so we're going to continue, obviously, looking at addressing violent crime, but we're seeing, as I've said for the last several weeks, tenuous progress. It's fragile, obviously, but we're seeing tenuous progress. A 50% decline in murders over the last 7 weeks, I think meets the criteria for continuous progress. But I want to couch this, and I think this is important. One murder is one too many. One shooting is one too many. But we're seeing tenuous progress with our plan over the last 7 weeks. And I just want to recount, I've been here 16 weeks. So we had to organize this department based on things that changed on the ground as it relates to not only a global pandemic and global recession, but also the George Floyd tape murder being shown, causing nationwide violent crime to spike. And so we reorged after a reorganization had put in place in April from the previous superintendent. And so 7 weeks of the reorganization that I put in place under my tenure has resulted in a 50% reduction in murders and an 18% reduction in shootings. I just wanted to be clear on your question about, is the plan working? Tenuous progress is my answer. Yes.
Superintendent, obviously you're talking about the citywide teams. The summer mobile patrol unit is drawing to a close, obviously, because summer's almost ending. So those additional 200 or so officers, are those officers going to be absorbed into the community safety team and the insert going forward?
We're extending the summer mobile for another 90 days because of the very results I mentioned. We're not going to stop doing something that's giving us tenuous progress results. So we're going to extend it for another 90 days, and we're looking to find ways to grow the citywide team, the community safety team, as you mentioned, whether that's absorbing summer mobile or just doing it's a very technical labor term of just, asking for more volunteers to join the team or drafting more volunteers to join the team.
And those two citywide teams, CERT and community safety team, that's separate from summer mobile once again, I just mentioned.
Yes, it is. It's a separate reorganization that I put in place.
So all three are coexisting?
Yes, definitely. And showing tenuous progress. 50% reduction in murders, 18% reduction in shootings since they've been implemented.